Hello viewers, this is Marianne from Revealing Light Tarot. I wanted to look at Spirit Files number 2, and I specifically wanted to look at fear and how to manage it. I guess, fear goes back to our ancestors a long, long time ago, where we had that flight or fight response, and that saying, I'm frozen with fear. So the messages that I got today around this was that when we're in that, when fear is overwhelming us, we need to take back control of the situation. And some of the ways given that fear is an overriding emotion and can overwhelm us, some of the ways we can do that is introducing some other emotions into the equation. So, for example, if you had to go to an event or a situation that you were fearful of, introduce some of the things that you like doing within that situation. So, for example, if crowds in a shopping centre bother you, take your and you have to go and do shopping. Do the shopping, but take your favourite book there as well, and sit quietly in a cafe, watching the world go by, reading your favourite book. So what you've done there is that you've introduced something that you like doing into the environment. So rather than it being overwhelming, it is a way to take control of your environment. So the word that I got today when I was opening myself up is pace yourself. Slow everything down, because when we're in a fearful situation, everything's moving very, very quickly, and it's very, very overwhelming. So it's slow. When you slow things down and you pace yourself, you're actually taking some control of the situation. In other words, you're putting a boundary there for fear, and you're saying, you're not going to control me. I have control in this situation. And when we have control, then our fears start to subside. So there are lots of ways that we can take control, lots of ways. It can be simply in deciding to take control. It can be in that split second when you make that decision, and straight away you've got more control, and then your fears start to subside. So ways to manage fear: pace yourself. In small ways, take control of your environment. Don't let your environment dictate to you. That is a way to move on from fear, to take yourself out of that frozen moment and move forward and transition to another state of emotion, which is far, far healthier than fear. So let's just have a look at what the cards... We'll ask the cards, what can we do? What can we do when we're fearful? What are some of the ways we can manage our fears? Okay, so the Ace of Cups comes forward, really overwhelming emotion. And this actually comes back to what I was saying earlier when I started this reading about replacing the one emotion with a more pleasant one. So if we actually acknowledge that our emotions are powerful, and that they sometimes override our conscious and analytical mind, our rational mind, then what can be helpful is, when you're in that fearful state, to introduce a new emotion to the equation. And that might be satisfaction, it might be gratitude, it might be love, it might be happiness, it might be joy, and finding those triggers that provoke those emotions are very important as well. So here we have the Empress card, actually, which is coming forth. In this deck, it's the Mother card. So this is a counsel that, to us, that we should actually be mothering ourselves. What does our mothers do? Our mothers soothe our fears. They come forward with a voice that says everything's going to be all right. and our fears subside. So this card is saying, do this for yourself. You can do it for yourself by simply changing the emotion, introducing that emotion, pacing yourself, taking control of your environment. I used to get quite anxious early on in my career. I've always worked in deadline-driven occupations, whether that I'm a professional writer, or that has been my career. And, managing deadlines, I got to the point where I'd done, worked with deadlines for so many years, decades and decades, that the mere thought of having to complete something to a deadline provoked a fear and anxiety in me. So what I did was I made a decision that I wasn't going to be rushed anymore. And so when I am, facing a deadline, I will go and make myself a pot of tea, and I will deliberately stand back, sit back, and I'll take a deep breath, and I'll enjoy my cup of tea, and then I'll move forward. And inevitably, I calm my own anxieties. So what I'm doing is I'm being my own counsel, and I'm doing what my mother would have told me. Slow down, Marianne. No need to rush. You will get it done all in good time. So we can do this for ourselves and for others as well. But we can, mother ourselves. And, I think that brings forward, new ways of handling old situations. And the Seven of Cups comes forward. Notice we're pulling these cups here. And the Empress card. The Seven of Cups comes forward when we need to choose, and we need to make a commitment. And this card is asking us to choose how we're going to react to situations. We can't help but be fearful in certain situations. We're only human, and this fight or flight response will come forward in particularly demanding situations. Life's, sometimes not a bowl of roses. Literally, you can see the rose in that little cup there. It can be quite difficult at times, and there are many situations that cause us anxiety and fear and worry. But even in the midst of those situations, we still have a choice, and it's what we're going to choose. And this is what this card is saying: is what choice are you going to make? Are you going to choose to be your own wise counsel? And again, this idea about pacing ourselves and introducing new emotions, into the situation can often help manage troublesome emotions. So just deepening that reading a little bit. When we do this, it can actually lead to new beginnings. If this is the Death card here, which is endings and beginnings, and we're mirroring the Ace of Cauldrons. When we learn to look at situations differently and manage them differently, we actually open ourselves up to experiencing situations differently and not in the same way that we have in the past. And that can actually lead to new beginnings and renewal. And bringing in new things, because we're not stuck with the same emotion, that same pattern that that says, well, you haven't quite learnt yet, have you? So therefore, this situation's going to stick around. Or if it doesn't, something else similar will come along until you learn to move on. And, when we become our own wise counsel, this is the Strength card, mirroring the Mother card. When we become our own wise counsel, what we do is we bring forward this innate strength that's in all of us. And we let the light in as well, because, things aren't clouded by fear, worry and anxiety. And looking at the choices that we have to make, we've got the Lovers card. Okay, now the Lovers card, comes forward. This can open up new relationships with people, and new ways, as I said, of looking at things. And, love, I mean, this can allow, because fear, there's that old Star Wars line in it, isn't there, that, fear leads to anger, anger leads to a hate, hate leads to the dark side. I've never forgotten that line out of Star Wars, because it's, script writers actually do get it right every now and then, and fear does lead to anger, and anger does lead to hate. But when we bring forward a new way of managing our fear, we open ourselves up to experiencing the best that life has to offer, and indeed that is love. And then the Two of Wands. The Two of Wands comes forward when we're, new beginnings, mirroring this card about new beginnings. And again, it's making that it's making those choices, and it's choosing to handle things differently. And it's, that is also is the card of, I guess, expanding our horizons as well. So when this newness comes in, and the wands are inspiration. So, within this new beginning, we're allowing ourselves to be divinely inspired, as well as being inspired by everything around us. Because when we're in the middle of fear, we're not really seeing anything, and when we allow ourselves to experience, the wise counsel, we be our own wise counsel, and we bring forward the strength, then this card is the Merlin. And Merlin in this deck, it equates to the Hermit in others, but it's a little bit different in this deck because we all know who Merlin was. Merlin was the mythical, magical being that was all wise and all-seeing, and indeed had that light for others. And we can see Merlin on that cliff, and there's a horizon with the sun coming up. This reflection that when we are our own wise counsel, and we do actually take the time to reflect, and then we actually do light the way, I guess, light the way forward for ourselves. And just looking at the, making choices and making a commitment to respond in a different way, it opens up other feelings to come forward and other experiences. And the Wheel of Fortune, it actually does change our fortune, I think. It moves us forward and allows us to experience, experience things other than fear. On one side we have the dark clouds and the stormy seas. On the other we have the blue skies and the sun. And I think this card is a great way to, we started with the new emotions, introducing new emotions into the situation, which can help manage fear. And then we're finishing with this Wheel of Fortune. It can actually change the actual fearful situation that you've got in front of you. It can change it for the better. And of course, then the fear ebbs away. And we then have learnt the lesson, and we go forward, and we take that experience forward with us as well to the next situation that causes us fear. And we've got that experience of how we handled it differently to draw on in the next situation where we do have that fight or flight response. So the counsel here is to pace yourself. That was the word that I got today very strongly, pace yourself, and slow things down when you're most fearful, and take control of the situation back, because the fear will be overwhelming. And the ways that we can do that, the really critical, card in this reading is the Ace of Cups. This is the new emotions. And it is introducing these new emotions into these fearful situations, whether it be gratitude, whether it be satisfaction, whether it be joy, whether it be love, introducing these new emotions. And then that allows you to take control of the situation. You become your own wise counsel. You become your own mother. That leads to strength. And really does light the way in the darkness for you. And, you know, finally, it is capable of changing your fortune. You're no longer stuck in fear. So there are, I mean, there are other messages. I've been, I guess, meditating on this how do we manage fear question, because it is a hugely difficult thing to do. But I always come back to simplicity, and it can be as simple as slowing everything down, taking control back so that you're not overwhelmed. And one of the ways we can take control back is introduce new emotions into the situation. Okay, I hope that was helpful to anyone that is grappling with fear at the moment. And I hope that you can actually just try it out. You know, if you're worried about an event, take that book to the event, or the situation, and find a sunny corner and sit down and read your favourite book, or whatever it is that will build those feelings of contentment or peace. Go out on a limb, sit in the corner and meditate, or whatever. You don't have to be, doing exactly what everybody else is doing. Take a leap of faith. Do something different to the rest of the crowd, and take your control back. So that's Spirit Files number 2, how to manage fear. And as I said, I hope that was useful for you viewers. Thank you.